Hi and welcome back to my channel. I'm Tony. This is my best mate in the world, my little grandson Ralph, and we're here today to carry on building my amazing Jagdpanther G2, this huge scale 1:6 scale tank destroyer from Armortek. A massive piece of kit. Loving every single moment of this build. And when we left off in the last video, I showed you my technique how to set the 30-degree angle for these swing arms here, or these suspension arms, axle arms. And I'm going to do one more of these in real time. So what I'm planning to do today is to assemble all of these, the rest of these. I've got everything laid out on my bench ready to go. I'll do one more of these in real time, and then I'll ask Ben to speed up the whole process. And what I'm going to do as well, these little grub screws, once they're set and the thread locker's gone off, I'm going to just machine the excess off of those. So I don't want to see those. I want those to be smooth. And then we can once I've got all these done, we'll then go on and set the angle of the torsion bars and get to the completion of that particular stage. So as normal, I'm going to reset the camera, right, and we'll get cracking. Is that right, mate? Yeah. So ahead of doing all of these, I've just laid out all the components, and when you see them laid out like this, you see, or you understand why Armortek are just a leading company in this field. They're just beautifully made. Everything is just beautifully machined, and I love holding these parts and working with these parts. So I just wanted to show you that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start loading these up into my vise, and I'll do one in real time, and then of course I'll ask Ben to speed up the whole process because it will be so tedious for you. And once I've got all of these assembled, we'll come back and start talking about setting the angle. Right, I'm not sure where my little grandson's gone, but he's off. I'm sure he'll come back. First thing I'm going to do is just grab this axle arm. This is the one with the single, if you like, ring on it rather than the double. So this is going to be, pretty sure the single is 0.5, and it is. So I'll get that as tight as I can in my vise. Then I'm going to take one of these swing arms, or the axle arms, and I'm just going to slowly wind that down into position so it cleans the thread up, and that's gone in there lovely. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a swarf. As I said, I know you could probably tap this out with an M10 tap, but I think this is an easier way to do it. So once I've got that wound in and I'm happy with it, I'm going to apply a little bit of thread locker to that. You do not want these coming off. Although they're secured by a grub screw, you really don't want this coming off. So then just wind that all the way back in. Just tighten that up as nice and tight. And now we can release that. So that's in there nice and tight, and we'll just secure that with a little grub screw. Again, thread locker on the grub screw. You do not want that coming out. Getting that tight as possible. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, I'm going to machine this off so it's not sitting proud. That's the grandkids playing, I hope. Now we're going to put the main sort of torsion bar retention shaft, if you like. Let me bring this up into camera, sorry. We'll put this into the vise. You're all right, mate, you're back now. Put that in as tight as possible. And we'll do the same on this one. Just try and find its way onto the thread. Just wind that. That's gone in really nicely. That's tight. Release that. Oh no, almost forgot. Keep that tight. Undo that. What have I forgotten? Thread locker. Liberal amount of the, I'm using the red thread locker, the extreme one, because I do not want these coming loose, because it will absolutely be devastating for the performance of the of your tank destroyer. I keep correcting myself, but let's be honest, it is a tank destroyer, but it's a lot easier just to shorten that down to tank. So that's in there as tight as possible. And again, we'll just put a grub screw in that. Thread locker on that. Get that in as tight as possible. And what I'll do is, said, when the thread locker goes off, I'll remove the excess of these. They're sitting just a bit too proud. I don't know if you can see that. I'll get those flush. So that's it. I'm going to have to do the rest of these. There's 8 of each, 8 4s and 8 5s. I'll go on and do the rest of these, and I'll ask Ben to speed the whole process up. Okay, that's them all assembled. The only thing I want to do next is, I've already done the first one. If you have a look at these, when the grub screws go in, they're not flush. They stick up. and I actually don't like that. So I've, on my bench grinder, I've just ground down so that they're flush. So that, I just think that looks better and that feels better. So I'm going to go off and do all of these now, get them all ground down so that they're all flush like this one here. And then I think, having had a good think about this, I think the next step would be to get the axle arms themselves primed and painted, the side of the hull primed and painted, and then we'll set the angle, because otherwise there's a lot of work to set the angle and then to take them off to paint. So this is what I'm going to do. So I'll go away now and I'll grind all these down on my bench grinder. If you don't have a bench grinder, you could just leave them, I guess, or file them down by hand with a small file, but that's going to be time consuming, but it is entirely possible, you know. But if you've got a bench grinder, happy days. So I'm going to do that now, and then I'll be back with the next step. Okay, so these are all now ground down so that the little grub screws are now flush with the axle arm itself. I have given these a clean already. Now it's time to think about masking up. So I've already started doing this one, and the reason why I like to mask these up is that this shaft here, which goes through the, let me just turn that around, which goes through the side of the hull like that, if you get any paint, no matter how thick or thin you put the paint on, you'll really struggle to pass that through the bush. So you need to make sure that that is completely masked off. And then also on this side, I like to mask off this metal shaft here as well, because I don't want this having any paint on it. I will leave the shoulder of it exposed. So I've opened my garage door because it is actually a beautiful day here in the UK. First day, I can say that. Most of the time it's just miserable. So in fact, I was deliberating over painting or not, but it's such a good day, I will actually go ahead and do a bit of painting. So we're just going to mask off that, mask off, just get that so it's as tight as possible to the shaft, and just wrap that around. And that is what we're going to go and paint. So I'm going to do this one here, and the other thing I need to do is plug the holes in the side of the hull so I don't get any paint in there as well. So I'm going to plug all these holes here. I'm just going to use some kitchen roll or kitchen towel. I might just mask off these rubbers as well because they're black, and I think they would be black, and yeah, I might as well do that. And then once I've got all of these masked off, I've got my painting set, my paint table outside. We'll put these out, get some primer on them, get them painted. Once they're all painted, then we can move the massive hull onto the paint bench and get that painted as well. Okay, so I'll put down a bit of lining paper on my, this is literally just a makeshift paint bench, which is a couple of trestles, a piece of ply, but you need a really clean surface, so I've just put some lining paper down and just staple gun that to the top of the ply. I'm using an etching primer. As you know, I've cleaned all the metalwork up already, and I'm going to use, need to go and get my mask. I'm just going to use a mask. I've got some vinyl gloves, and this just helps protect. Got my reading glasses on. I've got my etching primer. Now I've shaken this up already. You've got to shake it for a good couple of minutes, possibly 3-4 minutes, until you hear that ball rattling around. And then I simply just have a piece of kitchen towel, and that is just to wipe the nozzle clean. So I'm going to start with just doing a light coat over the top to start with. Don't try and put too much paint on at once. The temptation is to try and get it painted as quick as possible, but patience is the key. And the thinner the coat you put on, the less time it takes to dry. So I'm just going to come around now, sorry, and hit it from this side. I typically put 3 coats of primer on. This is quick drying primer, etching primer, widely available on the old internet. Now I'll leave that to dry a good 10 minutes, and I'll leave that to dry for a good 10 minutes, and we'll come back and give it another coat and do the same again until we get a really nice coat on it, and then I'll turn them round and we'll hit them the other side. And once these are done and undercoated, I'll take them off my bench, and then I'll go and get the massive hull and bring it out, get that edge primed, let that dry, and then of course then we'll put the top coat on, which will be the base coat with the sort of the standard German yellow that all these vehicles were produced or sent out the factory in. But we'll cover that off in a minute. But anyway, I'm going to let that dry, and then we'll see how we get on. Okay, so these are now dry. They've had 3 coats, and I'm really pleased with the finish on them. Very happy with that. Now it's time to turn them around. And give them a coat of paint on the other side. So they've had probably about 10 minutes in between each coat, which is about right. And now we can start applying the coats on the other side. Same thing, just building up the coats, light coats. Very important to get a really good, nice base coat on these. So when we do the final colour, you get a lovely, smooth finish. Come around this side now. I've found myself, I've ended up painting sooner than I thought on this model, and it's only because of how we need to set out the angle of the arms the axle arms, and I thought, well, I might as well get them painted, because yes, I could do them, set them, but then to do the job properly I need to take them off the tank and paint them at a separate time. So now's the time of getting painted, I think. So I'm going to go do another 2 coats of these. I won't film that, but again, when we get to the final coat, we'll then talk about I'm thinking, while I've got them on the bench, I might as well do the top coat as well, and then get the hull out and deal with that as a separate matter. So we'll wait for these to dry. I'll give them another couple of coats and I'll be back. Right, so really happy with the finish of the primer. I've left that a half an hour now after its 3rd coat, and it's the surface is beautiful and smooth. Really pleased with that. So now it's time to go for its top coat. So this is the Dunkelgelb, which is I think that's the way you pronounce it. Apologies to the guys in Germany if I've pronounced that incorrectly. But this is the yellow paint base coat that most of these vehicles were released from the factories in the Second World War, and of course the camouflage was then applied afterwards in the field, so to speak. So I'm going to paint all of these in the same colour. I'm also going to do the bottom of the hull in the same colour, exactly the same way I went about doing the header. And then once all these are on, and then I can then apply the camo over the top of it. But this is the base coat which I'm going to use for the whole of the vehicle, and then obviously, of course, apply the camo after that. So we'll start building up the coats as I normally do. Just gentle light coats. This has already been rattled, if you like. Just a light coat to start with. As I said, put too much paint on, it takes too long, and you could get drips and runs. Now, depending on how this goes, this could end up having 4 coats, because these do get battered when you're running the tank. They take a lot, so you want a really good coat of paint on them. I do love this colour, actually. And this paint is Fosco, which is a military paint. You can use this, I believe you can use this on full-size vehicles as well. So it's a very good, durable, hard-wearing paint. I'm not getting sponsored by them, I'm just letting you know that this is the paint that I normally use, and I've had some really good results with it. So if you're building one of these or anything similar in the Second World War genre for German tanks and vehicles, that's the paint I would use. So I'll let this dry again a good 10 maybe 15 minutes, and then I'll start building up the coats, and then I won't film all of that, but when I come back to you, these will be finished, and then we'll look at getting the monster hull onto the bench to get that painted as well. So that's all the axle arms painted and finished and put away, just to harden, for the paint to harden up. Now I've got the massive hull, and what we're going to do here is we're going to paint the bottom of it, because this is the last time we're going to be able to get to the underside of this to paint it. I'm also going to paint this underside of this armor plate here, the 2 sides, this side and this side, and that's it. I'll probably just give a bit of primer on here, but the rest of it I'll be able to get to at the end of the build, ready to paint, to do the final paint scheme. So if you notice, I've masked off all the holes. I've also plugged all the holes where the bushes are, and any holes that I don't want to get paint into, I've masked off. So now it's a matter of just building up many coats of the primer, and again, just going very lightly. Nice even coats. And again, we're not trying to get it covered in one hit. Just a nice light coat to start with, so that paint, the etching primer, keys onto the metalwork. Sorry, I know I've got my back to you and I'm probably blocking the camera view. Remember to keep wiping that nozzle. And we'll just hit this end part here, because this will be difficult to get to, although I've got to do some welding around this. It's more this area here. So now we'll wait for that to dry. I'll probably do the same thing again, 15 minutes in between coats, and I'll come back to you when I've got it all coated, primed and ready for the top coat. Right, so it's now ready. It's had 3 coats of primer. I'm really happy with the finish of it. And just to reiterate, before I painted this, I had cleaned it and I'd rubbed it down, so it was ready for painting. I should have said that before. So and also just to reiterate as well, I'm only painting enough so I can get the torsion bar and the axle arms on and set at their angle and not have to worry about them. There are other parts that go on here, you know, like the main drive mount and the sprocket mount and the idler mount and other parts, which will have to be primed and painted. But I can put those on. When I put those on and I've done some welding and everything else, I can revisit the bottom section of the hull. We are just at the very early stages of this, and it's tempted to go, well, why is he painting it so quickly or early? It's only so I can get these swing arms onto the tank and set at their angle, and then carry on with the rest of the build. And I think afterwards the next step for this will be to assemble all the wheels, get those painted and then put them to one side, and then come back and start mounting all the other parts onto it. So anyway, enough of me jabbering on as I normally do. I'm just going to crack on now and start giving it its first coat of the old Dunkel Gelb. So as before, just a light coat, just a very light coat to start with. I like to build these layers of paint up over, you know, a period of a couple of hours. Just nice, constant strokes, continually wiping that nozzle just to prevent any drips coming through. And as I said, now's a good opportunity to paint the underside, because once this has got everything attached to it, you know, swing arms and all the rest of it, it's going to be almost impossible to spin the tank upside down and do this. So this is the perfect opportunity to get a good coat of paint on the bottom of this, and it's really important because obviously this is what takes the brunt of the hits and the abuse when you're driving it. So I'm just going to give that a bit of a... I'm not too concerned about this area here, because I will be able to, once it's elevated and I mask everything else off, I can get to this and paint it. It's just the parts that are going to be awkward to paint at a little bit later stage. So again, I know I've got my back to you and I'm probably blocking the camera. As you can see, just nice continuous passes, and that's enough. So I'll carry on. I'm going to wait 10-15 minutes between each coat, build the coat up gradually. I'll probably put about 5 coats on this because I think it just needs it. It gets a lot of abuse, and then once this is painted, I'll come back to camera. So that's all the axle arms painted, and the side, both sides, and the bottom of the hull. So all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to remove the masking tape from the shaft that passes through the hull. I'm going to leave the masking tape on the axle side where the wheels will go, because we've still got more painting to do. But that reveals this beautifully the beautiful contrast between the raw metal and the painted part. So that is that. And now, just to demonstrate, with having not put the paint on, it still slides through as it should. Let's put that in the bin. And I've unplugged all the holes that I previously plugged along the side here, and unmasked all the other parts. So yes, we've got loads more painting to do, but that's much further down the line. But as you saw, I think it's really important that if I want to get these set to the angle, because you have to set them yourself, you have to grind and flatten off the side yourself, and I just think that by the time you do all of that and then you set them, then you've got to take them all off again to paint them. I think it's better off just getting them on now, and then all the other parts can go on in the fullness of time and be painted in the normal manner. So that is it for today's session. Just pop that onto there. So in the next session, we'll go on and we'll install all these swing arms, and then I might skip the wheel assembly, because that is the next thing in the instructions, and then go on and start putting on the drive cases and bits and pieces like that. But you know, I'll make my mind up at that point. But anyway, in the next session, it definitely will be about getting these axle arms on with the torsion bars, and then we'll take it from there and see how far we get. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're brand new to my channel, welcome, and glad you found me. Please subscribe, because we have got a long way to go on this incredible beast. And again, just thanks for all your incredible support, all those wonderful comments and all those thumbs up. And I'll sign off by saying, I'm Tony, I love building these tanks. Thank you for joining me today, and I can't wait till the next building session. See you soon.